So I'm back in Kathmandu, as you can see from the back, and I thought while it's all very fresh, I'm back from the Everest Base Camp trail. I'll share with you some impressions and also give you some feedback, suggestions and advice, because I did the same. I looked up on YouTube and I felt some of the recommendations there were just nonsense. So triangulate, here's some feedback from my end before I share some impressions with you. So first question that always comes up, are you doing this via an agency or on your own? I would definitely do it via an agency, just the hassle of organizing the internal flights, checks and everything, and also locally there. They know all the hostels there, know what to do, have good recommendations. So I would definitely do it with an agency. They handle everything. Then 14, 12 or 10 days. Well, personal opinion, I booked 10 days. Arrived 1 day late due to bad weather in Lukla, so that made it 9 days. And I spent a full day back then in Lukla. So altogether this was 8 days, and if I would have pushed it, I could have done it in 7 days. But again, this is up to everyone. Most of the people book 12 days. And if you want to take it easy, that's definitely a good idea. First, I must admit, when I looked at that schedule, I didn't understand what you do 10 or 12 days. But what you need to keep in mind is that you always overshoot the height. So typically you gain about 500, 600 meters per day. However, you're doing more than 1,000, typically 1,200, because your route pretty much goes in zigzag to allow for getting used to the height. Say in a certain day you want to rest at 3,000, what you do is you get up to 3,600, then decline back, sleep there, and the next day you get those same 600 up again. This is done just to get used to the height. Questions in regards to photos of the locals always comes up. Just ask. Rule of thumb is just don't give any money to the kids. They should go to school. Work with your guide. I took some pictures there, but I always ask, so keep that in mind. Water, I brought a filter, frankly not sure if I needed it. In the end of the day, I didn't bother and then just drank the water and it was fine. Don't produce too much waste there. I would not take bottled waters there. Use a filter. There's plenty of opportunities to get water. Don't forget your sunscreen. UV is quite high up there. Food, frankly, this is not a gourmet exercise there. It is rice with vegetables, potatoes, that's it. I felt I ate a lot, 3 hot meals per day, and I still lost 3 kilos, which, I mean, I do a lot of hiking and climbing, and if I take a rough one, typically I lose 1 kilo or 2, but 3 kilos, boy, that must have been the height, probably also the cold. Above 4,000 meters, you're constantly freezing, and that is just consuming energy. So this will be continued, but first of all, I give you some impressions.
Opposite way, you will be in traffic.
Traffic jam in Nepal. So actually you ask yourself, can you do it fitness-wise? Will you make it to the finish? and frankly, it doesn't matter that much, to be quite honest. You meet some people where you ask yourself, how on earth are they ever going to make it up? And the answer is they don't. I would say above 4,000 meters, you meet the people that you expect to see there. The people with the funny hats and the walking sticks and the brand new hiking equipment. You know what I'm talking about. You don't see them further up. But in all fairness, you see so much great things, so great mountains on the way. You see the locals. Do you actually make it up to base camp? Doesn't matter that much, because the whole thing is actually called Everest Base Camp Trail. But in all fairness, you actually don't see Everest that much, because it's typically covered by two other mountains, Lhotse and Nuptse. I tried to get up to base camp 2, from which you supposedly have a good view, but as it turns out, there's only one type of permit. You buy a permit to get to the top, and that's anywhere between $25,000 and $40,000, or you stay at base camp. That's it, and they check it. So that's the problem. To say, hey, I'll do another 1,000 meters up to get a better view is not really an option. So you're not missing that much if you stay at 4,000, 4,500. Very few people actually make it to Goracek, up there. And to be all honest, it's also not very pleasant there. Above 4,000 meters, the water is always frozen. There is no flowing water. Hygiene is extremely poor. It's baby wipes, and you ask in the kitchen whether you can have some water to brush your teeth, because everything else is frozen. There is no heating. It's constantly -10, -20. The nights are cold. It's tough also there. Above 5,000 meters, every step is brutal. So frankly, whether your fitness is good enough or not, doesn't matter. One way or the other, it's going to be a great experience.
के अरे थाम्डाँडा केटापट्टि भिरमा अनि म लामै गयो यार अर्को बच्चाले त भयो धक्काले भारी छ अस्ति म आउँदा पनि एउटा मोटिया भारी समेत कहाँ छ and he don't have any way to go and he's saying like that.
Oh dear, couldn't do anything. So one more round of suggestions. Backpacks. Keep in mind that you have a porter. Yes, you should have a porter. They typically carry 2 or 3 backpacks. I had a porter to myself, which was quite a luxury. But you should have 2 bags. One where you have your just daily stuff, water supplies, changing clothes, just what you really need for the day, and the rest, like sleeping bag and stuff like that, the porter carries. So keep that in mind, that you need 2 bags. Definitely timing-wise, allow for some flexibility. The big unknown is always the flights to Lukla. Quite an exciting experience, I must say. But there is sometimes a couple of days in a row where there is just no flight because the weather is too bad. That cut my trip short by 1 day, but I had others that told me they waited 4 or 5 days for a flight. Sleeping bag, you need one. I think the other suggestions on YouTube, some people suggest you don't need it. I think that's nonsense, because what you find there is rather filthy. I do not want to sleep in those blankets, frankly. So absolutely have a sleeping bag. I have multiple sleeping bags. I almost packed the one for minus 20 degrees that I use for outdoor sleeping in the winter time frame. That one would have been probably too hot. I picked exactly the right one. Comfort temperature is between 0 and 5 degrees. Take a look at your sleeping bags. There's always a comfort temperature indicator, so mine is between 0 and 5, and that was just right. During the night, typically it was minus 5, minus 10. Up there near base camp, minus 20, and then you just put some extra blankets on it. When it's really cold, 2 blankets, otherwise 1, and that's provided up in the cabins. These cabins are super basic. You need to keep that in mind. This is not the standard that you're used to from European mountain huts. These are really very basic cabins there. Shoe topic, I took hiking shoes, which I also needed because I had crampons with me. I wanted to do some off-piste stuff, which I actually did. So I needed shoes that were geared for crampons and spikes. Some people on YouTube suggest that you can take regular running shoes. I'd say that's okay. But keep in mind, it is a trail. You may twist your ankle, it may get cold, it may get wet. So if you have good hiking boots, take them. Question keeps up, do you carry any pills? I took no pills at all against altitude sickness. Your guides have something if needed. I didn't need anything. Worked out fine for me, above 5,000. Yes, I had mild headaches. Yes, I had crazy dreams, crazier than usually. So you feel it, that something is going on with your body above 5,000 meters. I had some vitamin pills, which I took 1 per day. I think that's good because the diet, the food there is not a broad variety. Tipping question always keeps coming up. Yes, you tip left and right. Your guide and porter, rule of thumb, your guide and porter should together about 10% of what you spend on the trip. I don't know, when it's 1,000 euros, 1,500 euros, take 10% of that and give it to the guide. And the porter getting off piste every evening. I had discussions with my guide. He always pointed at my itinerary. I should stay on the trail to get from A to B, and I always negotiated with him a little bit. Let's do the monastery here left, or let's do that summit here to the right. So that was possible, although he didn't like it that much. The preference is really to stay on track.
So let me show you Everest. Nope. 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 There you go. Mount Everest. Right in the middle.
So the last round of recommendations, Wi-Fi, mobile phone coverage. I would say that is okay up to Namche Bazaar. Above Namche Bazaar, you can pretty much forget it. Yes, there is Wi-Fi here or there. Bandwidth is lousy. Then it runs 5 minutes, then it doesn't. So I would say you're really 4 or 5 days up there in the middle of nowhere. You are disconnected. So bring some books with you. You won't be watching YouTube videos. You won't be on Netflix. None of that is going to work up there. Take a power bank. I used mine quite a bit, 4 or 5 days. Was no problem at all. People-wise, I mean, I must say this was COVID days, and the people that I met there were very, very few. Locals told me this was 5% capacity, maybe below. And I would say above 4,000 meters, there were only 5 folks from Ukraine and a French couple. That's it. And in most of the hostels, actually me, my porter, and the guide were the only guests. So I can only imagine how busy that trail is during non-COVID days, and that probably would not have been my thing. So I'm not sure if I would recommend this when it's busy season. Hopefully we're getting there again. So I think if it were a busy season, I would have probably done the Annapurna Trail, which also looks great. It's almost identical, different scenery, but definitely less busy. Or I would have done a summit. The island summit is on my list. I just need to agree times with my guide there. But Island Summit is in the same area as Everest and Kombuche. And apparently you have great views from up there. And that is really mountaineering and is not just being on a trail. So those would be my recommendations. But great experience overall. Do it if it's on your bucket list. Maybe move it up and maybe take advantage of the situation that right now pretty much nobody is up there. So I had a great, fantastic time. I hope this provided some useful input to you, and over and out. Thanks. So we're a couple of hours away from base camp. It's about 5,600 meters high currently. This is Chumbu, Kalapatar, which we'll probably do in the afternoon. You see the yaks bringing supplies to probably base camp. There in the ridge is base camp, Everest. And there's just an endless glacier, 14 kilometers glacier. It's just awesome. So, there's Everest base camp, Kumbutse, Kumbu glacier, and now all the way up there is Everest. Beautiful sunny day. Nopse, also close to 8,000. Kumbu Glacier, 14 kilometers long. So this is the famous landing strip, or landing ramp at the Lukla airport, the Tenzing Hillary airport. As you can see, problem number one is the ramp really at the edge there. It is a couple of hundred meters steep down, so if you fly too low, you hit the wall. If you don't stop on time, you also hit a wall. You see that the angle is about 20 to 30 degrees, so quite interesting. So you slow down dramatically given the slope of the landing strip when you land. Same is for takeoff, given the short landing strip. It just helps you to accelerate a little bit because you roll downwards towards the ramp. So you can only fly by vision here. There is no setup here for automated flight, start and landing. So this is why you have a lot of problems at this airport, and if the visibility is not good, there's no flights. Hopefully today I get my flight.